So first and foremost, obviously this is a different type of election, being a special election, being that you found this out around March time or so, I believe. Just give us an idea. I know you already ran, but an idea of your background, real briefly here.
Oh, sure. I teach at Penn State in the College of Information Sciences and Technology, cyber law and cybersecurity. Before that, I was a lawyer in New York, sued the Wall Street banks for their role in causing the financial crisis. I live in State College with my wife and my two girls.
And specifically, this is a slightly different type of election. What has your campaign process so far been like as soon as you found out and then announced you were going to run in this special election?
Yeah, the special election is they're special by definition, and so the normal models of what would a November election look like don't apply. It's a municipal primary year, and so that means generally pretty low turnout. And so we realized it was going to be all about turnout, making sure that, in my case, that the Democrats knew to turn out and that independent voters knew that they could vote as well, because there's a lot of confusion about that. So it's been all about field. We've been opening offices across the district and getting hundreds of volunteers to knock on doors and make phone calls, get that message out.
How do you feel so far? Has there been reception? Have you been able to reach people in terms of letting them know that this is not just a primary election, anybody can vote, and doesn't have to be even across, or it can be across party lines. It doesn't have to be, straight party. For example, a Republican can vote for a Democrat in this election, or vice versa.
Yeah, I've been blown away by the reception that we've gotten at people's doors, and independent voters in particular are thrilled to find out that they can vote in the spring on primary day for the special election. They haven't been able to, and I think that's part of the reason that people feel disconnected from our system, is that for about a third of the voters, they're not allowed to vote.
So what do you feel are the most important issues for voters across central and northeastern Pennsylvania? What are the main points you're hitting on?
The most important issues are jobs, health care, and protecting Social Security. Making sure that we keep those middle-class tax cuts permanent, making sure that we invest in critical infrastructure like rural broadband and connectivity, making sure that we protect protections for people with pre-existing conditions, making sure they can get care. I support a Medicare buy-in option so that people aren't at the whims of for-profit insurance companies. They always have an option to be able to get healthcare coverage, and that can help them start up small businesses and help small businesses compete with the larger ones. And then protecting Social Security and expanding the benefits. Protecting it by lifting the payroll tax cap on Social Security income so that even the wealthiest Americans are paying their fair share, because they're not right now, into Social Security. And then making sure that the cost of living adjustments for Social Security accurately reflect what older Americans are paying, particularly on healthcare costs. It has lagged far too behind for far too long.
A couple of follow-up questions. That one is, any election you hear the T word come out, right? Taxes. Are they going to go up? How are you going to impact us? What are you going to do if elected to fight for our well-being financially? What's your response to that?
On taxes in particular, I think we need to keep those middle-class tax cuts permanent. We saw the Republicans push through in 2017 a tax bill that added $1.5 trillion to the deficit, and 83% of that went to the wealthiest Americans and to corporations, and they mostly sat on that money. That did not help to stimulate the economy. That did not help create new jobs. But we have a long history of showing that when you put more money into ordinary Americans' pockets, they spend it because they've got cars to buy, they've got meals to buy, they've got rent to pay for their apartment. That helps to stimulate the economy. That helps to create new jobs.
If you could, this district in particular spans a wide, massive area, for lack of a better term. So could you just talk about, obviously, being from State College, being familiar with this area, how have you been able to connect? Perhaps most would say you have a favorable chance in the State College Eastern, Southeastern, Center region, but what about the rest of the district? What have you done, and what has been the reception there so far?
Well, we've been focusing from day one on making sure that we have people on the ground in every single county. And so, we've got an office opened in Bradford, for example, in Towanda. And we've been knocking on doors pretty much since day one of the campaign. And the issues that people face are mostly the same. Those jobs, healthcare, education, and Social Security issues are the same. There are some unique ones, in parts of the northern tier. Gas royalties and the way that companies like Chesapeake are taking advantage of landowners are more important. But at the end of the day, people really want the same things for themselves and their kids, no matter which county they're in.
Gotcha. Would you care to comment at all about, and I know this election is not about Congressman Marino anymore, but the nature of his resignation, would you care to comment about that at all? Came as a surprise to many people. Is there anything rationale behind it you care to comment on?
What I've heard most recently is that he's suffering from poor health, and I wish him a speedy recovery.
Great. Any comment about your platform versus your candidate or your competitor in this election, Fred Keller?
Yeah, I think the difference is stark. You know, you look at the jobs issue, for example. I think his agenda is great for the corporations and for the wealthiest Americans. I think my agenda delivers for people in this district, for the working class. He's been supported by this radical group called the Club for Growth that's dedicated to destroying Social Security as we know it. As I've said, I'm dedicated to protecting and expanding the benefits for seniors. Representative Keller is a climate science denier. I realize the threat of man-made climate change and also the opportunity that it presents us to create jobs while we move to a renewable energy economy.
Two final questions for you. One, how do you like your chances going into Tuesday? And two, why should people cast their ballot for you?
I feel great about our chances on Tuesday because this has been a people-powered campaign, and we've talked to tens of thousands of voters across the district directly, and that's the most effective way to do it, not with scaremongering, not with trying to instill fear into people, but by actually talking about the issues that matter. And I think that's why they should vote for me, because I'm talking about jobs, I'm talking about healthcare, talking about Social Security, and how can we get Washington back to work.